Here we go.
We had a pretty scary situation on Survivor with Jake getting bit by a sea crate and eventually having to be medevac from the game. And today we're going to take a closer look at the history of medical evacuations in Survivor. Thanks for tuning in to the Merch Feast on a Monday. Joining me is Logan Hogmo. I'm Brandon Johnson. If you haven't watched our full recap, I'll put that on the screen now. Go ahead and check that out. But let's get into it. So, Logan, Jake gets bit by a snake, and one of the scarier moments that we've seen in Survivor. You have this venomous snake that is according to a book that the safety guide that they get is one of the, 10, what did Jeff say, like 10,000 times more venomous than a rattlesnake, or that might have been hyperbolic.
It was
10 times.
it was 10 times, not 10,000, but
Got to get the people to listen, you know?
hey, just a couple extra
What did he
zeros there.
say? As soon as I said it, I'm like, that is not right.
Yes, so 10 times more poisonous than a rattlesnake bite. So pretty scary. But yeah, definitely pretty scary. And I think probably out of all of the ones that I can think of, medical evacuations and Survivor, probably the scariest one, or the one that I probably the most worried about the contestant for.
Yeah, when you think of, like, life-threatening, like, you think of venomous bites in general. You have the black widow, the spider, and we have, like, in Missouri, we have copperheads, rattlesnakes, venomous snakes that are like, oh, you got bit by a snake. We know that's serious. We know that that's life is now being threatened. And when you go on Survivor, you're in the elements, and there's a lot of risk that you take on. But like this situation with Jake, you don't really expect it to actually happen, and we saw it play out in a very, I mean, I would think if Jake didn't make it, I don't know if they would have shown it. But man, assuming that he was fine and came out okay, I was still watching it, man. My heart is pumping, and I'm like, this is intense.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that they said, obviously we've been filming there for 10 years, and for them to talk to people that have lived there for their entire life and they don't know anybody that's ever been bit, for it just to be kind of a freak thing. I was the same way. My heart was pumping, was like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. And I think the spot that it got me the most was when they were just getting to the main base camp and they were like, hey, is he breathing? Like, oh my gosh, like I didn't like, that's pretty serious.
Yeah, and they said that when he got to the main base camp, that it had been about 45 minutes since that bite happened. So I don't know how much attention he was given on the Kella beach, or how long it takes to get from Kella to the base camp. Is that a 45-minute trip, or is it, hey, we were working on him here, we did a bunch of precautionary stuff, and it was a 10-minute boat ride,
Mm-hmm.
But that's I read somewhere that that's a bite. It was obviously, it was a dry bite, so there wasn't any venom released into from the bite.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw that you can die within 8 hours of getting bit by one of those. So
Wow.
I mean, he was 1 hour into that clock.
Man, I want to say, and I'm not 100% sure here, so we might have to fact check this, but I want to say I saw something that like 25% of people that get bit by it, like, don't, if it's actually releases the venom, don't make it, which is just crazy. I mean, but if you can die within 8 hours, if you can't get to a hospital or something, that makes sense. But man, that's just scary.
Yeah, and testament to the medical staff on Survivor. We've seen it throughout the show's history that they have just top-notch doctors and professionals there that just know what to do and know, like, for any scenario, if this then that, and they're just on top of things. And we saw it again there, and I think this is one of the few times where we really saw them peel back the curtain and show us what's going on. I know, like, I don't think we've ever gone off site like that. Usually we see them tend to them in the camp and uh, just give a little. I feel like the doctor forever, his name was Joe. I don't think he's the doctor anymore, but it'd be like, Joe, give us an update on what's going on. And you get an update, and then usually they end up being okay.
Yeah. Eh, and the thing that I liked about going to the base camp, I was worried as soon as they went to the base camp, he was done. But the fact that they explained, like, hey, you've not getting any extra attention outside of just the little bit of fluid to make sure you're good, but outside of that, you're not getting AC, you're not getting nutrition, you're not getting these things until they made the decision to pull him, which I thought was really good because he clearly needed more medical attention than on the beach, but wasn't sure where he was at yet. I thought that was really cool that they even kind of highlighted that as well.
Yeah, that's yeah, keeping the integrity of the game alive is crucial. And yeah, they flew him to a couple different hospitals from what I read to just double, triple, quadruple check that he didn't have venom in his system. And that's like, it's one of those things where, like, maybe he would have been okay, but since they knew that it was a dry bite, but you can't play knowing the possibilities on the other end of that. And um I just I'm glad that they don't let the players get in their own way and make those decisions for
Because
the most part.
I feel like for the majority of people would try and stay if they could. I think Jake probably would have. I mean, he clearly wanted to. If he could have come out of that and been fine, I think he might have stayed. But um, it's definitely good precaution there. And I don't know if I've seen anything, but did he make it home in time for the birth of his kid?
So they put a picture on the episode,
Mm-hmm.
and from the way I interpreted it, yes, he made it home
Okay.
in time for the birth of his child. So
I had seen
uh,
that. I just wasn't sure if it was he made it
yeah,
home in time or if that was after. But
yeah, I wasn't 100% certain, but that's the
nice.
way I saw it. So Logan, you were looking at numbers when we were preparing for the show as far as how many people have been medically evacuated from the show, and kind of how many men, how many women, what point in the game. So give us some stats and numbers, and break that down a little bit for us.
Yeah. So um, in Survivor history, there's been a total of 19 med evacs. Of those 19, 18 of them were men. We've only had one female. So, guys, we got to get it together. I mean, there's a reason why women live longer and all, but I thought that was pretty crazy. And honestly, thinking back, I couldn't really remember a female getting removed, but that's why.
Yeah, I think it was in the 20s for the first female to get removed. I believe it was Survivor One World that happened, Courtney
Mm-hmm.
Moon.
Mm-hmm.
But it Survivor's a brutal game. We've had people get removed for infections. We've had people removed for having too much beef and getting their colon backed up. People that have pinched nerves, throwing their back out on the way back from a challenge. But um, it's just one of those things where you live your dream, and you've been applying to get on Survivor for years and years and years. You finally get the call, and then you're like, you have this vision of what your game's gonna look like, and you have this slow mo of, like, you're running with the football and you're jogging to the end zone and you have three defenders that are 5 yards behind you and you just have daylight. But then you wake up from that dream and you got bit by a snake on day 6 and you're done.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the other one that I was kind of looking at because I was trying to think and decide what would be worse. Is it you get medically evac'd at the very beginning or say pre-merge to where you haven't had a ton of time, you didn't get to actually play the game a ton? Or would it be worse in your mind after the merge, you're farther into the game, you're close there at the end?
That's a great question. Honestly, neither of them are ideal, but I think I'd rather go out early than be like make it into like I guess we play 26 days now, but make it into the final like the 30 day. It's day 32 and you get medically evacuated. There's multiple people that have been taken out in the 30s. I want to say Eric
Yeah.
was like, was he top 5 or
Yeah.
top 6? Yeah.
So, and I don't know what position or like what position he was 100%, but with that, so there's of those medical evacs, 13 of them were pre-merge and only 6 of them were post-merge. And Eric is the one that's the like latest evac, and that was when we were 39 days, and he was evac'd on day 36.
That was he was Caramoan, Survivor Caramoan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was from he collapsed from exhaustion, dehydration. So 36 days in, almost there. That would be brutal.
Is that the one that's coming back to me now? Is that the one where that happened at Tribal Council or right outside Tribal Council?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
But and there's only one other one that it looked like was in the 30s. Joe Campo with on Co Wrong. It was day 34.
Is he the one that had too much beef? What's the reason there?
Bladder urinary blockage.
Okay,
Yep.
Maybe that's what it was. I think I misremembered what it was. I knew it was some sort of blockage.
Yeah.
But so there's been 19 medical evacuations, some more severe than others. But Jake's there. Whenever this happens, there are with this. There's now 3 that are going to come to mind anytime that a medical evacuation happens, and I want to just spend a little bit of time on kind of the other 2 of the big 3 that have happened, and I want to go all the way back to Survivor Australian Outback. This was the first medical evacuation in Survivor history. This was the very second season of the show, and Michael Scoopin, this is pre-merge. He's tending to the fire, and he passes out and falls hands first into the fire. Basically, wakes up, and you can see just this is graphic. You can see skin literally hanging off of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And just one of those things is like kind of forever in your mind.
Yeah, it was hard to watch, and honestly, probably one of the more severe injuries that we've seen for an evac. Whenever I was watching that for the first time, and even just rewatching it with Sydney, it's like it literally like it looked like his palm was just like falling off. Like it was, and he immediately ran over into the water, submerged himself in the water, waited for medical to get there, and he was screaming in pain. And when they got there, he was like, "Just tell me what to do." Like, and I've never been burned like that, like super severe. My uncle Wes, he had some 3rd-degree burns, and I'm just remember how painful and like long of a process that was. I couldn't imagine that being on the hands.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. And that was one of those like immediate, we got to get him out of here. He's done. So yeah, that first medical evacuation, and just terrible. It's just it stands the test of time in Survivor history as one of the worst medical evacuations.
And not that all of these aren't freak accidents, but a complete freak accident in his situation. He was tending to the fire, got too much smoke, and passed out. I mean, could have happened to anybody, but out of all the fires in Survivor history, like it just hasn't happened again. Like it just crazy.
Yep. Yeah, so that one, and then the one that always comes to my mind, like top of the list for me, is Caleb's evacuation in Survivor Co. Wrong. And this one for a few reasons. I always think about how swift the Survivor crew was as a whole, from the doctors to um, like key grip to cameramen to producers. Everybody stepped in and they were like, if you are here right now, you are essential. You need to be getting water. You need to be getting ice cubes. You need to be getting umbrellas. You need to be getting towels. You need to be helping. You need to be fanning. So Survivor Co. Wrong, and this was, I think, one of the they started to. This was during a challenge, and I think this is where they started to kind of back off of the just over physical challenges and kind of move towards the format that we see now. It's a brutal, extreme hot day in Survivor Co. Wrong, and just a very physical challenge. A lot of digging in the sand and just overexerting. A lot of energy. Very easy to get dehydrated, overheated. You had Deborah that she's needing medical attention. Sydney's needing medical attention due to being overheated. Caleb laying on the ground, basically lifeless, and they're putting ice cubes on him. They're dumping water over him continuously, doing anything that they can to get his body temperature down. And again, it was you had 3 people go down. 2 of them weren't as severe, but just, oh my goodness, this is a incredibly serious, dire situation, and everybody that's here, all hands on deck, let's go.
Yeah, I didn't remember that one a ton. That season didn't. I just didn't have a ton of memory from that one. So I went back and watched the clip of kind of the medical situation, and it was kind of crazy to see how many people were having to be attended to. Started off attend to somebody. Caleb goes down, Sydney goes down, and then like you said, Jeff was like, "Hey, if you're here, all hands on deck, grabbing everything." And then it got to a point where they were pulling him, and hey, bring in we need a helicopter now. Like that was pretty scary. Like that, I don't know how many people have been evacuated by a helicopter, but I think
Yeah, Scoopin was.
Scoopin and Caleb I know was obviously, but 2 pretty scary ones. I mean, at one point he was laying there. I was like, is he even breathing?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, they're like, hey, are you still with us? Are you still with us? Are you
Yeah.
still with us?
And
So,
what an emotional toll for the people around him, and
yeah,
not even just they're exhausted obviously, and there's other people, their trimates helping. Like one of Sydney's trimates was helping her out and keeping her calm, and but what an emotional toll, just to be around that. And I'm curious your thoughts on kind of what that does to kind of their gameplay and affects that.
yeah. I think it impacts the game in multiple ways, both from an emotional human standpoint and then from just a gameplay strategy standpoint. We saw with this most recent evacuation with Jake with the Keller tribe. They spent the entire day pretty much just stopped playing the game and were thinking about Jake because they didn't know his, how he was doing. They weren't updated from what we could tell. So your mind has left the game. You're not thinking about strategy, while the other 2 tribes have no idea what's going on, and they know they have a challenge coming up, and they're focused on that and making sure that they're ready to go for that. So you're coming in behind if you're Kella, or or the tribe that has just dealt with what they've dealt with.
That's already been kicked and down already.
Yeah, that's already had a really rough stretch of Survivor in the first place. But then to find out, typically, so I think the way that Kella found out that Jake was gone was unique because typically Jeff or somebody would go to the beach and be like, "Hey, we're pulling Jake from the game because of X, Y, and Z." But Kella found out the same time as everybody else did, and then you usually also see like, "Hey, because of this, we're not going to run a challenge," right? So then, yeah, Kella spends the entire day thinking about what has gone down, and then, hey, we're still playing, we're still doing a challenge, and I don't know how you're supposed to possibly just shift your mindset into game time.
It incredibly tough, and I think what they tried to do of, hey, we're gonna do this for Jake. Like Jake would have wanted us to continue. You obviously got to dig into that, and doing that in sports in general. I mean, growing up playing basketball, if somebody got hurt or middle of the game, we were down a little bit, got hurt, like, all right, we've got to win this for them. Like that, this is
Yeah.
for them. So using that as a motivation, but to be able
Mm-hmm.
to clear your mind from everything that just happened, it'd be so tough.
Yeah, I remember. I remember Edinson Volquez in 2015, Game One of the World Series. Edinson Volquez's dad died like the day of Game One, and then Edinson Volquez pitched Game One of that of the World Series
Mm-hmm.
and pitched great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know how I would. I don't know how he just did that.
Yeah. It takes a lot of mental strength, and I think in sports, in physical things, in challenges, Survivor that's extremely difficult takes a lot of mental strength, and I think that's something that people see and learn there. Um, but for somebody that's not used to that, it'd be a big task to be able to what was I going to try? Carp,
Compartmentalize.
Yep, I can't say
Oh,
that word.
you got it. Sound
Um,
it out. Come on.
nope, I'm not. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah. All right. So
um,
so
yeah,
go ahead.
you're good. Go ahead.
So from we have the emotional side of the game. Um, how do you navigate it from a strategy standpoint? If you're uh, like the Kella dynamic is fresh, so we can kind of use that. How do you navigate that?
This one's really tough, especially because those four were already in an alliance, and going forward there, if they would have won the challenge, I think it would have been completely different. But them losing it and having to go and fight, that completely blows up that as a group. But then also, Alex was Jake's number one. For him to lose that, that can completely shift a game. I mean, at this point, he's kind of starting over. I mean, yes, he does have Sophie, but does he fully trust her? And so, in that aspect, he's kind of starting over. Same thing for Sophie. I mean, she has Alex, but she was clearly more with Jake. So it's tough. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we saw it a little bit in Survivor 46 when Randon got medically evacuated from the game. He had a pinched nerve that they were afraid might have been a bulged disc, so they had to take him out of the game to make sure. But Randon and Venus were kind of the pair there, and they were a little bit on the outs with their tribe. But you have like Venus that had a went from having at least a number one or somebody with her to, oh, now I'm here with just four other people that don't want anything to do with me. So it just, whatever strategy and plans you had were just ripped out from under you right there. And I think obviously the circumstances are different when your number one gets blindsided or voted out versus getting pulled from the game through no fault of their own. adaptability is such a big piece of being a successful Survivor player, and I think both Alex and Sophie navigated that situation very well because they just went into survival mode and
Hmm.
were like, all right, I have to do what's best for my game, and I need to throw these relationships out the window for for now because I need to be here tomorrow.
And I think that's what you have to do in that situation. You've got to put the emotions aside and look at your game and what's going to be best for me moving forward. Because Sophie very could have clearly said, "Hey, I'm with you, Jeremiah. I don't want to write your name down," and she very well could have gone home. That I mean, so her putting those emotions aside, the relationships, what do I got to do to get moving forward is absolutely what they've got to do there.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough page to turn, I would think, but uh, I think that they handled that incredibly well.
Yeah.
But before we get out of here, let's do a bracketology update for episode 3. In the recap, we kind of were joking. You and Blake were number one, number two, and we now have the update for that. And shout out Blake. Blake is on top of the leaderboard right now. He's probably very happy for that.
Yep.
Too bad he's not here to celebrate, but
Hey,
uh,
he misses out.
yeah. Number two, Blake has 323 points. Number two behind him with 313 points is Yvonne.
Shout out, that is one of our coworkers'
Okay, shout out.
daughters.
Oh,
So
sweet. Okay.
yeah, so shout out to her.
Yeah, playing good. And then who's number 3 on the list?
Yours truly.
There you go.
I was number one. I slipped a little bit, but top three, can't complain.
Yeah, top 3, and by a pretty good margin. I know that things can change pretty quickly, but top 3 have at least 300 points, and everybody else is under 300 right now. I'm sitting comfortably at 10th place. I
What are you
didn't move.
doing?
Hey, I'm just playing the middle. Is this I've learned with Survivor that you have to manage your threat level, and I'm playing the middle a little bit. And as we get further into the season, I'm gonna start
Slow
rising
and
to the top.
steady.
I don't want to peak too early like you and Blake might be, right?
Mm,
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
see.
just playing the game.
I like it.
But
But
yeah,
definitely some good competition, and this is a lot of fun. It brings kind of another aspect to watching Survivor and still learning kind of the points and some of that, but it's fun to have that competition. So definitely glad those people have joined in, and we'll definitely keep updating those.
yeah. I'm assuming the people that are on the bottom did not set their lineups, so it's been a lot of fun. Make sure that you're remembering to set your lineups. Thank you for tuning in today. We will see everybody Friday for the recap of what looks to be like a pretty exciting episode. So tune in for that. Last week, Blake and I were talking, Logan, and we were like, how are we supposed to end this? Logan's not here. So I'm happy to throw it over to you and say goodbye, Logan.
Bye, Logan.